Welcome to Dump Truck Toolbox. I'm Alan, and today we're going to be talking about reckless driving. It's good to have you on the channel today. We're going to talk about bad behavior by dump truck drivers. Today we're going to look at reckless driving, and by reckless I mean taking a risk without reckoning, without thinking it through. So we're not going to talk about, road rage type stuff where you're deliberately doing something that's risky, but just going down the road and not reckoning, so being reckless. First of all, let's talk about turns. Why is it more difficult to corner a truck than a four-wheel vehicle? Two things. First of all, the tires have less traction, and so they can't move the truck with as much force laterally. And then secondly, they're top heavy, and when you put a load on a dump truck, it's even more top heavy, and that means that they're more likely to tip in a corner. We were hauling spoils on the interstate west of here, and at the ramp we were getting off at, made the first, I think, couple of runs, no problem. The third run, though, there was a truck, I think it was a box truck, but there was a truck who had taken one of the ramps and apparently had been going too fast and went through the guardrail. Fortunately, I don't think there were any injuries. The truck was mangled up quite a bit, but it's easy to get in over your head on a turn. So some ideas on how to make sure that you're handling turns safely. Obviously, lower speeds on turns. I always obey the suggested speed limit, even in clear, dry weather. If it's raining or there's some other reason that the road might be slick, I'll go under the speed limit on those yellow signs. And that's really the most basic thing, is just watch your speed. Come in with less speed, especially if you don't know a given road. Another form of reckless driving, taking a risk without even intending to, comes with braking. A dump truck is large. It has less braking capacity for its payload than private vehicles do. So you need to account for that. You can't just go barreling into a situation and expect your really powerful brakes to bail you out. A couple of specific ideas that I would suggest. First of all, use a 4-second following distance. I know when I was in driver's ed, many years ago, we were taught a 2-second following distance. And if you're in a pickup truck or a car, van, whatever, probably a 2-second driving distance is adequate. But in a dump truck, especially a loaded dump truck, a 2-second following distance is likely not to be enough. The second thing with braking is to look for choke points, to anticipate them down the road. And so I have a video on choke points. Basically, a choke point is where you have multiple hazards coming together, and that multiplies the risk. And so you want to look down the road, and if you see there's some construction on the right-hand side of the road, there's a left turn lane, there's an intersection with cars crossing your lane of travel, and there's a lot of traffic around you. Okay, all those things, you add them together, that's more dangerous than just approaching an intersection. Whenever you see a choke point in front of you, ease off the throttle, cover your brake, or maybe even apply your brake. Very common choke point is a traffic light. And in a car, you can sort of just be puttering along and the light goes yellow and you put on the brakes, you come to a stop. Well, that's not always true in a dump truck. It's not enough to be looking down the road and then waiting for the light to turn yellow. You need to look out for what's called a stale green light. A stale green light is a light that's been green for an unknown amount of time, which means it could turn yellow at any moment. And so, once again, especially with a loaded dump truck, when I see a stale green light, I am going to ease off the accelerator. At a minimum, cover my brake, move my right foot over top of the brake pedal, and possibly apply the brakes lightly just to get a little bit of speed off the truck. If that light does turn yellow, it's much better to be going 40 or 45 miles an hour than to be going 55 miles an hour. The third form of reckless driving I want to talk about, that is taking a risk without reckoning on what you're doing, is side swipes. And so a side swipe is where you hit something with the side of your vehicle. That can happen in a situation where you got some fixed hazards on the right-hand side of the road, and you're not attentive to where your truck is in the lane. I strongly recommend that you use your mirrors, and then also that you consider using aim points, especially in tight situations. An aim point is just something that glancing ahead quickly, maybe there's a point on the hood or the wiper that you know when that's lined up with a fixed object on the side of the road, that you're in a good position. You're the 2 to 3 feet away from that object that you want to be. So I've got a whole video on aim points here. So there's a matter of experience and skill at setting your truck up correctly for a right angle turn. It's also useful, especially if it's a vehicle new to you, or maybe you haven't been in this situation before, to glance in your right-hand mirror before you get to the apex, before you get to the point where the rear wheels are closest to the curb or telephone pole on the right of the truck. Glance at it before you get there. Have your foot covering your brake, so you give yourself more options, more outs. So those are some ideas on situations to watch out for, to be attentive about. I hope that'll maybe be a refresher for those of us who've driven commercial vehicles for a number of years. If you're new to commercial driving, or you're thinking about getting into commercial driving, I really encourage you to have a mindset to avoid this driving down the road without reckoning, that is, driving down the road in a reckless fashion, and instead to see that when the truck is on the road, your full-time job is to keep yourself, your vehicle, and the people and vehicles around you as safe as possible. And that means thinking constantly, planning and managing your speed and doing the right thing in corners and whatever else it takes to make sure that your load gets to where it's going safely and you get home safely at the end of your shift. Thank you for joining the channel today. I encourage you to jump into the conversation in the comments below. If you found today's video useful or interesting, please click the like button. And I ask you to subscribe if you haven't done so. That helps other people find our channel. This is Alan. I hope to see you again soon on the Dump Truck Toolbox.